Hi, I'm Ann Sherman, and I'm going to show you right now how to make a sampler on Yupo. A lot of people have a little basic fear of working on Yupo. Allow me to start by telling you that it is a synthetic surface. It's nice and smooth and shiny. I can't paint on an easel because all the paint will fall off, so I do paint flat. There are some tricks, or actually just techniques, for making the paint work. And there are several different ways of painting on Yupo, and today I'm going to show you mine. I'm here in North Carolina, in Raleigh, at Art of the Carolinas, and I am going to show you how to improve your work on Yupo, or how to start your work on Yupo if you haven't begun. So the first thing I'm going to do is make you a sampler, and if you remember, they used to make embroidered samplers years ago where they would just it was sort of a testing formation, and that's what I'm going to do with this Yupo. It's basically to show you how to apply the paint and how to make it stay there and how to give it different textures and all the stuff you need to know to paint on Yupo. So the very first thing I'm going to do is pick a color. When I paint Yupo, I like to paint my backgrounds. I paint my entire paper to start, which I feel gives me a synergy throughout the painting. It makes your painting look like at any time throughout the painting you're pretty much finished with it. So you can always get away with, if someone says, "Is that finished yet?" You say, "Yes, of course it is." So I'm going to start with one color, and today we're going to use, this would be Lucas Green Yellow. So I'm going to open my tube. I do this with my beginning because I need a lot of paint. I need it to go on fast, and I need to stay wet so it can be texturized. So what we're going to do is very carefully, we're going to put some paint on this. There we go. Very carefully. And we're going to spread it around so it doesn't matter. There's no special pattern that you need to use to do this. If you want to use more than one color in your background, you can do that too. I'm going to use a 1.5 inch brush to begin with, just to spread my paint really carefully. So we're going to start from here. If you don't like this color, you have to remember that you can always go back and throw it in the bathtub and wash it off. You can't wash off the pencil marks, but you can wash off most of the paint unless you're using stainers. I like to use just a plain pencil to do my initial drawing. And I'm going to come in and show you how I would go about giving this a little more synergy. We're going to maintain this color throughout, give it a little texture. This is just a sponge on a plastic handle. And I'm going to take this very important issue, toilet paper. And I don't know what brand this is, but we're going to go in there and roll it out. And I'm going to give it a synergy with this toilet paper. Okay. Oh, let's do one sideways that way and one that way. You can tell by looking from the side what parts are still sort of wet, and it dries pretty fast. So the next thing I'm going to do is come in here with a piece of toilet paper and clean up the edges. This kind of a composition works really well. If you paint like this and you want to matte your painting and you don't want to cut double or triple mattes to make them look really impressive, you can do this and it will make you automatically look like you have a single matte on there before you have anything on it. So what I'm going to do is wet the tissue. I like this because it gives me a feeling of accomplishment. If anyone asks me, "Is that finished?" I can say, "Yeah. It's done." So now we're going to come in, and I have 6 boxes laid out. One has a drawing in it. The other 5 are simply our background material that we're going to work with. For the first one, I'm going to take some of this plasticky material that they use to weave, or I don't know what they do with it, but you can get in your craft store, your art supply store. And I'm going to go over, we'll start up at the upper left-hand corner here, so if it's wet, I won't have to drag my hand through it. These are just little sponges on sticks, and we're going to do a little bit of stenciling with this. One of the tricks with working on this Yupo is to keep it just wet enough without getting too wet. We don't want it to run all under here, but we do want it to go through. So now we have part of that one done. I'm going to go into this one with one of my Pip pens by Faber-Castell while it's still a little bit wet, and just accentuate some of these little squares that we left. This time I'm going to use a piece of bubble wrap. However, I'm not going to use it as a lifting device. I'm going to use it as a stamping device. So I'm going to take my big sponge and lay out a little bit of paint. In order to keep it maintained in that one area, I have just some paper strips that I've cut down, and I'm going to lay them out around that rectangle that we want to do. And simply press with my hand. Ah, magical. We're going to go back in there and take the bubble wrap again. Good. Okay, so we're going to go in and do this with the bamboo green, which is quite a vivid color. I'm going to take this piece of linoleum, which I have cut into teeth. I'm going to turn my paper this way and drag it right across there. Now, I think that's a little too heavy for the rest of the painting, so what I'm going to do is take this other toilet paper, which is very fancy, it has little round things on it, and I'm going to roll right over this area and add another dimension to this. So it still gives you your texture, and it still leaves your stripes, and it still leaves your value changes. We're going to move on to a leaf green, which is very bright, but very compatible with our yellow. And we're going to do this area. I'm going to bring out another stencil. These are just some stars and swirls. We'll do a Holbein Brilliant Pink for some of this. And it's got a little bit of the magenta left that we used in the upper corner. And we have some pattern. We're going to paint on the stamp. I'm going to stamp it once on something else just so that it's ready to go. Get some of the excess water off it. Then we're going to come back. You don't always have to stamp a stamp right in the middle of anything that you're working on. It's perfectly acceptable behavior to just do it partially. Now we're going to get down to this part, which I have a little drawing in for you. It's just a drawing of some flowers. Because I want to paint these petals on this flower, on these flowers pink, I really don't want to leave them too yellowy green because it's going to make a muddy color for me. Okay, and now you have a sampler and you have something to go by when you begin your own Yupo paintings. And I am Carol Ann Sherman, and I am here in North Carolina for Art of the Carolinas in Raleigh. And welcome to Yupo, and look for my up and coming DVD, and I can teach you a lot more about it. Thank you so much.